Okay, so today's patient is a Sega Dreamcast. This Dreamcast is unhappy. It's stuck in a bit of a reboot loop. It comes on, goes off, comes on, goes off, over and over. It's probably now going to make me out to be a liar and stay on, but oh no, there we go, it goes off. And it will restart again. So we're going to take a look inside this thing, and I'll show you how to fix it. Okay, so there's a few things that could be causing this problem, and I have done some research into it. I've read a few posts on some forums, and there can be either a faulty power supply, so you can actually buy a replacement power supply, take out the one that's in it and drop a new one in, if that's the case, or you could fix this power supply. Most people will probably just change it outright. But one of the other problems that is probably more common is the actual pins that connect the power supply to the board. Now I'll show you those when we get in there, but there's a couple of ways you can fix them. Some people recommend bending them so they make contact better. Other people have soldered them, which is what I'm probably going to do, as it's a more permanent fix. The bending will only be temporary. But anyway, let's get inside this thing. I'll show you how to take it apart. It's really easy. All you need is a Phillips screwdriver, so a crosshead screwdriver. So just turn it over. First thing you're going to want to do is pop this module off here. This is the expansion bay thing that has the network connection, the modem on it. So you just push this little clip in and push it away from the console, like so. That comes off. You can see it's slotted. Now there's a screw there, a screw there, a screw there and a screw there. So I'm going to take all those out. Okay, that's all 4 screws out. So now I'm going to turn the console over. Make sure you keep it held together because it is all loose, that is all that holds it. And now just lift the top off, but before you do, it's good to make sure that there's no disc in there, because this part with the laser in and the mechanism stays and the white bit comes off. So make sure you've got no disc in the tray. And also before you take the cover off to discharge the power supply, just turn it on and off again with nothing plugged in. Now lift the top off. The reason you turn it on is just because the power supply has capacitors on it, which can hold the charge even when it is off, and you could get a zap otherwise. So there's the top lifted off. We'll put this to one side. And this is the guts of the system. So this is your power supply here. You can see these are the pins. These are the pins I was talking about. So you can see them here. And what happens is these get sort of crap on them over the years and just don't make as good a connection anymore. These pins go straight through to the bottom motherboard, and the power supply just kind of slots onto them and then grips onto them with force with these sort of springed clips here. So we're going to try and sort these out first, because I'm pretty sure this is going to be the problem, and in most cases this will be the problem. So to get the power supply out, you want to take out this screw here at the front, and there's also this screw here behind this wire and connector, and you also want to take this connector off. So if we just pull that off, there's a little clip on it. Now we can take the 2 screws out, so we'll take the one from the back out, and the one from the front out. So the last thing holding the power supply in now is this white clip, so you need to hold that out and lift the power supply up. It will be quite stiff. If you start from the front here, that's probably your best bet. And then pop it out at the back. And this here is the whole power supply module. You can see the holes there where the pins go straight through. And there are the pins on the board. So they're still attached. And you can see they're a bit grotty and grimy where the contact is made. See these little black marks and things on them? So that's where they actually get pressed on by the little clips in there that you can see. So what we're going to do is we're going to sort of roughen these up and clean them up a little bit. So you could use a pair of pliers or whatever. I'm going to use a pair of cutters, and I'm just going to use the blade on it to scratch on the pin. And you can see there's this crap coming off here already. So let's just clean that up. And I'm going to do this all around all the sides. Be very careful not to touch your laser or lens here, because it won't help it reading discs if you do. Okay, so with those roughened up a bit, I'm also going to get in between with my screwdriver because it's a smaller gap. Might need a smaller screwdriver actually. So I'm going to put this in between the pins as well. This is just sort of scraping all that crap off, cleaning them up. And now if you wanted to not solder them, you could actually just bend them. So if you look in the power supply, you can see where those pins actually go through, and these little clips here, that's what they need to touch. So if you're doing it the bend way, I'm going to try that. Just bend them all forwards this way, so to the front of the console, out a bit, but not too much. Do remember these are still also soldered into the motherboard, and that should bring them in and touch these contacts a bit better. But let's do it the solder way, because that's going to last a lot longer. The soldering iron is on and warming up, so now I'm going to tell you the two methods of soldering them that you can do. So the first one is to actually get rid of this connector off here, these pins, so you would desolder it, and then put the power supply on with wires. So you would wire through from the power supply board to the motherboard, or either solder on to these pins between the contacts and the actual pins. But the easier fix way to do this is to actually put flux, if you can get hold of it and you've got it, so using a flux pen, liquid flux, whatever, or to even just solder onto these pins. So you need to put a little bit of solder on them to rough them up and make them a bit bigger. So if we get the flux pen or liquid flux, whatever you've got to start with, I'm going to put some flux over these connectors. You don't need a lot, just a little bit, because this is to help the solder flow across the pins. You can do it without flux as well, but I recommend doing it because it gives you a cleaner job and it just works. Okay, so now that I've fluxed up, you can see just a little bit of flux along the bottom here. The flux is actually showing up better on the camera than in person from what I can see. And I'm going to get the solder. Now this solder has also got flux in it, so that helps it flow even better. So let's just check the iron's hot enough. There we go. And we're just going to run a bit of solder down here. So we put the iron on and touch a bit of solder on the top. See, it'll run down the length of the pin. You don't need a lot of solder. I'm going to do that onto the others. I probably put a little bit too much on that first pin really, but just enough to coat the outsides of them. Just make sure it's going down both sides as well. This side and that side is the most important. You see how the solder is just running smoothly down the connector. The flux is helping it do that, and giving us a nice even sort of layer, but not too even. Obviously we do want it a bit rough to make that better contact. I'm going to go along and tap this. I'm going to get this excess off here as well. To remove the excess solder, I've got this desoldering wire or sort of braid stuff. And it just, what this does is it just sucks the solder off onto the wire. So as you can see there, if we melt it, comes off like that. So it's probably wanting a little touch up the top now. There we go. A little bit on it. So now they're all covered, let me try and get you a look around them. So if you see now those pins, they're a bit rough. They've got some little points on them, and they're also obviously slightly bigger because the solder's now on them as well. They will be hot, so don't go ahead and touch them straight away. We're going to just give it a couple of seconds to finish cooling down. In the meantime, I'm just going to make sure there's not too much excess of rubbish down here. I'm going to break off this bit of flux that's kind of set down here as well. Just neaten things up. So that's looking a lot cleaner. Pins seem okay. Everything's cooled down now. So let's drop the power supply back in and see if this fix worked in this case. So to do that, we're just going to line up the power supply again with them pins. And then pop it on. I'm going to push it down this end first. And it will be more stiff now because the pins are obviously that bit larger. That's actually what we want. That'll sit in place quite nicely, like that. Now we can screw it back in, make sure that this clips over first, and put the two screws back in. So that's the two gold screws from earlier. We'll put the back one in first, and then the front one in. Ensure it's all the way down, firmly. Pressing on it, which it is. Plug in the power connection again, or the power switch rather. Now we can pop the lid on and see if this thing works. So the lid goes on the same as before, it's just a case of dropping it over. Making sure everything's lined up. You can open the disc tray to check the alignment in there. And turn it over. Put them 4 black screws back in. With the 4 screws in, let's slide the expansion module back into place. Now let's try turning this thing on and see if it runs now. Okay, so I've got a game in the console. We're all connected up. Let's see if this works. Well, straight away we've got a picture coming out, which is better than before, because it did sometimes take a little while to come on. So let's set the date to that, that'll do fine. It doesn't remember the date because of that battery in there. It's probably flat, but that's not really important for the person that's given me this to fix. They just want it to actually work. But you can buy replacement batteries, it's just sort of a watch battery, and you can get ones in a holder. The one that's in there now you have to unsolder. So far, so good. I've just triggered the disk check because it's tapping on the console, but it hasn't rebooted it, so that's a good thing. So I think we've resolved the issue with the pins, which, as I said, that will fix it on pretty much all the consoles because that's probably the most common problem. That seems to resolve the problem. We've been running for a few minutes here. The games are working. I'm just going to keep pressing until this starts. I'm just going to use this for a little while and see how we go. Okay, so the game's been running for a little while now. Everything's been fine, not a single hiccup or issue. So I'd say we've probably fixed this problem. So if you found this video helpful, please leave a like down below. Any questions, leave them in the comments section. And subscribe to my channel for random technology videos like this one. Thanks for watching.